Everybody, welcome to the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. Dan Labbe with Mary Kay Cabot, and we are talking Browns schedule. It just came out. We have it in our hands, kind of. We have a digital copy of it, but we have the Browns schedule, Mary Kay. Ashley couldn't join us for this one, but we'll get some of her thoughts on the schedule here on some later pods this week. But let's get into this. The Browns, we've done like the drafts and stuff before. We're not going to do that, but I guess let's just start with like your first impressions of the schedule, and then maybe we can kind of dig into it a little bit more. What was the first thing that stood out to you?
Well, the first thing that stood out to me, I would have to say, is the fact that they completely got snubbed on primetime games. They don't have any primetime games, and I think that's pretty telling. It just says that the NFL didn't really take the Browns seriously for this year. They had 4 primetime games last year. Now they don't have any, and that's unfortunate. It's a state of where the team is right now, and they are going to have to build themselves back up to the point where they can get those night games, they can go get those prime time games. So it's sad, it's unfortunate for Browns fans that this is where the Browns are right now, but that actually was one of the first things that came to my mind.
Yeah, and I mean, this just kind of hit me as you were talking about that. Like, they don't even have a Thursday night game on this schedule, which is that's
Nope.
pretty rare for a team to not have a Thursday night game. And they really only have one game, that Baltimore game on November 16th in week 11, that's going to be like the center of attention. It's a 4:25 game on CBS. So that's a prime slot, obviously not prime time, but yeah, this is a lot of Sunday at 1:00. This is what it was like in 2016, 2017, kind of those years when it was tough for this team to get much attention. We're kind of back to that for this season.
Yeah, and the bad part about it is, for some of the players, it doesn't get them out there the way that they might need to be out there to make Pro Bowls and to get some of these individual awards. Because sometimes if you are not maybe making it to the playoffs or you don't have a chance to contend for the Super Bowl, at least you can get those individual awards. That's a lot harder to do when you're not out there playing in prime time in front of the whole nation. So I thought this was a little bit of a slap in the face to the Cleveland Browns, but it's just a sign of the times.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not surprised that they did. I wasn't expecting like 5 primetime games, but again, just to not even have a Thursday night game, they are treating this team very much like a team that went 3-14 last year, and a team that they don't have very high expectations for going into this season. So let's get into this schedule a little bit, and I think the thing that stands out to me is really those first 4 games before they go to London. They've got Cincinnati, then they go to Baltimore, they've got Green Bay, and then they play at Detroit. So you're looking at, of course, the Bengals were not a playoff team last year, but they got hot at the end of the year and almost got there. Baltimore, once again, a Super Bowl contender last year. I think they'll be a Super Bowl contender this year. Green Bay is one of the best teams in the NFC. And of course, the Lions are the Lions. They have a new offensive coordinator. That's kind of the one sort of question that they have coming into this year, but that's still one of the most talented teams in the NFL. Their defense is going to be healthy again. This is a very, very difficult stretch to very difficult first month for this football team.
Right. And then you go to London to face the 14-3 Vikings after that. So it's a really, really tough way to begin your season with 2 key AFC North opponents, and then those 2 really, really good NFC teams, and then you're off to London to take on the 14-3 Vikings, and then when you get home, you're going to Pittsburgh. It just doesn't get any easier. I mean, I think this is a tough schedule all the way around. It's only from strength of schedule, 13th in the NFL, but it seems tougher than that to me. And the way that they're going to get started here, they better be ready to play some football early on.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is Cincinnati is usually a slow starting team, so maybe that'll work in their favor. And weird things happen when this team plays Baltimore. I mean, this team generally under Kevin Stefanski has played well against the division. So, it feels like that, like there's a worst case scenario here where they're going to London 0-4. I think they can probably get one of those division games somehow early in the year. Team's still kind of trying to figure some things out. Like I said, weird things happen in those division games. Kevin has been good in division games, so that's I don't know. The worst case scenario is you go to London 0-4. I think it's really hard to actually be 0-4. Like some things really have to go against you, even if your schedule's tough. But you can see how this thing could snowball because, like you said, you go to London, you play Minnesota. Good team. Obviously, they're going to have a new young quarterback. We'll see how good he is, but that's a good team with a good coach. And we've talked about how difficult of a scenario that is for the Browns. And then it's Pittsburgh. And then it's Miami, who's no pushover. And then if you're sitting there and you're circling at New England on October 26th, well, guess who's waiting for you in that game? Mike Vrabel, who is going to want to beat his hometown team, the team he worked for last year, and a guy that we know is going to have his team ready to play, no matter the talent level. This is a guy that almost beat the Chiefs a few years ago with Malik Willis at quarterback. No matter the talent level, Mike Vrabel is going to have a very difficult football team to beat.
Absolutely 100%. So it just doesn't get any easier. Good for them that they have a bye week right in the middle, because I think they are going to need to regroup and figure out what they're doing. We don't even know who the starting quarterback is going to be for those first 5, 6, 7 games of the season. So they will be able to regroup on November 2nd when they have their bye. But when I look at even just the very beginning of this schedule and see that they have 2 AFC North double games right off the bat, you have to be ready to play. You've got to come ready to play. Now, they always do seem to have the Cincinnati Bengals number for whatever reason. Even when Joe Burrow is playing really well, the Browns quite often seem to play very, very well against the Bengals, and they're at home for that game. Again, we don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be yet and who is going to be going head-to-head with Joe Burrow. But I think just starting out right away and testing yourself and having these double division games, to me, that really stands out about this schedule.
Well, and I was actually surprised to see this because it does feel like, oh, the Browns always do well against the Bengals. They're actually in a stretch where they've lost 4 of their last 5 to Cincinnati, and 3 of them have been by double digits. Now, they didn't feel like that big of blowouts, but so I didn't feel like they got blown out in those games, but Cincinnati's kind of turned that. However, the one win that the Browns have in those last 5 games was the opener against the Bengals. That was that rainy game with Deshaun Watson starting. So if you're going to start against a division team, that's the team I'd want to start against, just because we know that Cincinnati generally kind of takes a little while to get the ball rolling. And, who knows if Trey Hendrickson is going to be there. So they've got some questions as far as that is concerned. So I guess, to me, if we want to take this just beyond the schedule itself, and I'm not a big fan of like being scared of playing a rookie quarterback. Like, no matter who you put a guy in against, it's going to be tough if it's his first start. But this does kind of scream to me like I want Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett starting the season for this football team, because having a veteran who kind of knows what he's doing, who's not going to be, I mean, afraid's not the right word, but I'm going to use it anyway. He's not going to be afraid going into those games. I think having a veteran early in the season is going to be really important for this team.
I think so too. And at this point, I think it's just going to be a matter of which veteran it is. We know that Kenny Pickett is going into these OTAs and the mini camp with the edge in terms of first team reps ahead of anybody else. But will it actually turn out that way when push comes to shove and they have to name a starter for that opener? We know that there's going to be a lot of pressure on the part of Browns fans to open up at home with Joe Burrow under center and going out there and trying to recreate some of the magic that he made in 2023. And he might be your actual safest bet. I mean, we'll have to see how this whole quarterback competition turns out, the 4-way competition that, of course, includes Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders as well. That is not how the Browns, I don't think, expect it to turn out, that Joe would be starting the opener. I think if they had to name a guy today, it would be Kenny Pickett. But we're going to have to see how this actually plays out by the time the Bengals roll into town September 7th. And it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very exciting to figure that all out. But boy, you're right. When you look at the beginning of this schedule, you definitely want to have somebody who has been around the bend a time or two out there playing quarterback for you.
So, selfishly, I'm very happy that they didn't take the bye after the London game, which is, I think, usually teams have the option of if they want to do that or not. So, selfishly, I'm happy they waited until week 9 because, we've had the early bye before, and it is like for us, we're not out there taking hits and playing in these games. It gets long when you have that early bye. It gets long when you have a late bye too, but especially the early one. So, I think, like you mentioned, that's going to be good for them to have that in the middle of the season. But then you get to this second half, and I'm just trying to find, like, when I look at this schedule, I'm just trying to find, like, where's kind of the soft spot. And again, I guess you could make that case. It's New England, New York. You've got the Raiders on the 23rd. I mean, the Browns lost to the Raiders last year, and they're a better football team this year than they were last year, especially at the quarterback position. San Francisco, Chicago, I think, is going to be better. Buffalo, 2 division games. I mean, I don't know. To me, when I look at this schedule, there's all the data talking about what kind of schedule it is, strength of schedule wise, whether when you want to use win totals from last year or projected win totals. I'm just saying, eyeball test, I can't find a real true soft spot on this schedule.
There really is not. There is not. In fact, it includes, in addition to the fact that you're playing a lot of really good quarterbacks, a lot of good quarterbacks. In addition to that, there is that one stretch where they're playing 3 on the road. Now, the London game is considered a home game for the Cleveland Browns, but it's not a home game. They're flying across the pond. So they've got 3 straight road games there. And I think that's going to be tough. They're going to be at the Lions, and then in London against the Vikings, and then at Pittsburgh. And the road games aren't far away, but they're still road games. So that's an interesting stretch there. But there isn't some little cushy part of this schedule anywhere. I mean, it just starts out tough and it stays tough. And I wouldn't be surprised when all is said and done, if it doesn't turn out to be one of the toughest schedules in the NFL, just in terms of how good these teams end up being and how many of them make the playoffs and all of that sort of thing. So if the AFC North stays healthy and Joe Burrow makes it to the finish line and Lamar Jackson makes it to the finish line, and we don't even know who the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback is going to be yet, right? I mean, that might be Aaron Rodgers. That could be Kirk Cousins. We don't even know yet. But I was looking at some of the just the lineup of quarterbacks this year. And it's going to be pretty tough depending on how some of the younger guys play, right? I mean, they're going to be playing against Cam Ward. They're going to be playing against J.J. McCarthy with the Vikings. And so there will be some younger guys, but that certainly didn't help them last year when they played Jaden Daniels with Washington, right? I mean, it's really tough to beat some of these really good young quarterbacks coming into the league these days. So I don't see any moment in this whole 2025 season where they can ease up and let their foot off the gas a little bit and catch their breath, because it just keeps coming.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels is, I remember when we talked about this last year, that sort of speaks to, you just never know with these things. Like, we kind of looked at Washington and we said, okay, well, they might be starting a young quarterback. So, that might be an opportunity to win a game against a team that maybe hasn't discovered itself yet. And Jaden Daniels just ends up hitting the ground running and is just awesome right away. So that turns into a loss that maybe we had penciled in as a win, in May. So it just speaks to, who knows, again, like we've talked about, what these teams are going to look like. Who knows what Cam Ward is going to be? Of course, you're getting him later in the season, which makes it more likely that maybe he'll be, settled and in a better spot. Who knows about J.J. McCarthy? And like we talked about with Pittsburgh, I mean, if that's Mason Rudolph starting that game, I think that at least changes, that changes what that looks like on October 12th if you're coming back from London and facing Mason Rudolph or Skylar Thompson or even Will Howard as opposed to an Aaron Rodgers or a Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to make sure that they are right at quarterback, because even last year they went out and they got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to make sure that they were good. And I really feel like they're either going to have Aaron Rodgers, or they're going to try to get their hands on Kirk Cousins, or they'll figure something else out where they have what they believe to be can be a winning quarterback. And we know that Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season. It's mind blowing. But in order for them to do that, they're going to have a quarterback. And again, we don't know who that's going to be yet. But if they find someone pretty darn good, then, they will be right back in the thick of it like they always are. So I don't know. I just think that it's going to be really interesting. I don't think that the Browns are going to get through the season with one starting quarterback. I think they will at least have two and probably three. If they're doing any more than that, then they're probably going to be in some kind of trouble. But I think that they will start at least three quarterbacks at some point next season. I don't know. That's just my guess right now. What do you think? Do you think they'll start three,
Well,
four?
like unless they surprise us and start winning a bunch of games, then at some point you're going to have to put one of these rookies out there. You're going to, whether
Right.
it's Dylan Gabriel or Shador, you're going to have to put one of these rookies out there. So
Right.
that's at least two. And then if the rookie you put out there struggles, maybe you give the other rookie a game or two at the end of the year, or 3 games at the end of the year. So if this season goes the way I think it's going to go, at some point you got to ask yourself, why are we still running Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco out there? We've got to see
Right.
what these rookies look like, because we're going into a draft where we might have a chance to pick a potential franchise quarterback in a strong quarterback draft. So I'm with you. I think it would not surprise me if we saw 3 starting quarterbacks this year. Like if you put it at 2.5, if you put the over under at 2.5, I would seriously consider the over.
Yeah, I would too. I would too, because I feel like even if you start Kenny Pickett, there might be an injury or a moment in time where he's not getting the job done and they turn it over to Joe. Or you start with Joe just because he looks good in preseason games and he looks good in training camp, and you think you need to start Joe, and then it doesn't go the way that you want, and then you throw Kenny in there, and then you get to the end of the season and you're like, we need to see one of these rookies. So I'm going to go 3 because of injuries, because of effectiveness, and see how that all goes. But yeah, this is going to be a tough season now when I look at this schedule, and you just really do see it in black and white, and you realize how many good teams they're playing. And when you get to the end of the season, I mean, my goodness, you get to the end there and you have to play the Buffalo Bills, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Cincinnati Bengals to finish it out. So if you are somehow hanging in there and hanging around, and you get to that point and you have a shot at a wild card spot, you have to finish really, really strong.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you expect to have to play division teams at the end of the season. We've talked about it on these podcasts. Like I like it that way, to play division teams at the end of the year. But man, to throw Buffalo in there, that's just, I mean, at least we don't have to go to Buffalo for that game on December 21st. So at least they're coming to Cleveland. But to just throw Buffalo in there, who's going to be at that point probably fighting for the number 1 seed in the AFC or trying to lock up the AFC East, like that's just that's just cruel. Like whoever did that, whoever decided that the Browns are going to have to finish with Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati, they're having a good laugh at the NFL office over just sticking that Buffalo game in there.
Right? Because, I mean, you could be facing, in that scenario, you could be facing Josh Allen and then maybe Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow. And that's going to be really, really tough. Once again, if you just look at the lineup of quarterbacks the Browns are playing this year, so much better. How many times have we talked about this? So much better than in 2023 when they caught a lot of breaks on the quarterback front. If this slate stays healthy, this is a juggernaut lineup of NFL quarterbacks and some young guys that could surprise people and some guys that have been around for a year or two that may have elevated their game a little bit. So this is going to be very interesting.
Okay, so let me ask you this: if you were Kevin Stefanski and you could kind of just lay this out perfectly, like this is the week I want to start, whether it's Dylan Gabriel or Shador Sanders. This is the week that I want to transition from veteran to rookie quarterback. If you could like pick the perfect week for that to happen, so nobody gets hurt, nobody forces your hand there. We know that's not usually how the NFL works. When would you want to do that? Which of these games would you do that? Is it as simple as you've got the bye week and then you play the Jets, which I mean, the Jets might have a really good defense again. They've got some guys, but is that it? Or is there another spot where you'd kind of say, this is maybe where I wouldn't mind sliding a rookie in for his first start?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because a lot will depend on where the Browns are at in terms of their playoff hopes at that point. If they are completely out of it and they almost know that they're not going to the playoffs by that point, then I think you turn something over to a rookie and you can see what the rookie has. And what you're also doing in that situation is trying to win every game, but wink, wink. If you don't win every game, you're going to be in good shape at the draft next year when they have 2 first-round
Yeah,
picks.
kind of like they low key did with Dorian Thompson Robinson last year.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, trying to win. Wink, wink.
Right. Exactly. So if you're at the bye and you're not doing well at all, and it looks like the playoffs are not going to happen, then yes, I would just go ahead and throw a young quarterback in there in that next week at the New York Jets. And it's not going to be easy from there on out. They do end up with 5 home games in their last 8. So from a crowd noise standpoint and everything, that will make it a little bit easier for them. But at that point, why not, right? Throw in Dylan, see what you can get out of him, see what he can do, providing at that point that he's still ahead of Shador. If not, you throw Shador in there and just kind of see what happens. There's no better way to learn how to play this game of NFL football than to get out there and actually play the game. And so, yeah, that's probably where I would do it. But if you think you still have a chance, I think there's another little flashpoint later where you can wait until like December 7th and then give a rookie like 5 games at the end of the season to see what they can do there, beginning against Cam Ward and the Titans. So there are a couple of points, but the earlier the better if you think you're out of it.
Okay. Let's move off the football here for a minute. Let's look. We get to travel. We get to go to these games. Obviously, you'll be going to London. Not sure if I'm going to London at this point or not. But what are you looking forward to on this schedule? Like, what's the game or the city or what's the thing you're looking forward to most on this schedule? Let's not forget you get to make that trip to Carolina and Philadelphia too in the preseason. So,
oh yes,
that's going on as well.
Yes, that's right. And those are joint practices, of course, that Kevin Stefanski will be holding against those 2 teams. So those will be a little bit longer road trips than they normally would have been. But of course, London. London is circled in red on my calendar for 100% sure. And then I love going to Las Vegas. Love, love, love going to Las Vegas for a game. I love everything about it.
See, this is why it's good that Ashley's not on this podcast.
And I know she would agree with me because, of course, like we've talked about on this podcast, I showed Ashley how to do Vegas the right way last year. And we're going to try to do this pretty much the same thing this coming year and live it up in Las Vegas a little bit. We deserve it. We work really hard and we would like to go out there and have some fun. And it doesn't include gambling, believe it or not, but we're not gamblers, but we like shows and dining and shopping and pools and that kind of stuff. So
see, you should hang
right?
out with me and Chris and Scott this year. We were sitting in a sports book being degenerates. So you guys should join the dark side with us this year, like last year.
Maybe you should come and have a 5-course meal with us, including some caviar at Spago. What do you think?
We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's a long time to talk me into that.
And then I always enjoy going to New York. I have a daughter that lives in New York City, so I'm looking forward to that trip very much. And we know Browns fans love doing that. And then, of course, we really like our little tour of the AFC North. All of the Browns writers, we enjoy going to Cincinnati and Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Those are really good, cool cities to go to. So we don't want to give those guys short shrift by any stretch of the imagination. And then what else is cool? Oh, Chicago, of course. So this
Yeah,
is
we
a
haven't been to
good
Chicago in a little while.
no, this is a good lineup of road games. And we don't have anything real far west this year, except for Vegas. So most of the travel is pretty cool. And the New England game that's a tough road trip. I mean, you would think that it would be a great road trip, but it's not because of you have to get to Foxborough. So that makes it a little challenging.
Yeah, I would say to the folks out there that are planning trips, like Boston is a great city and Providence is a great city. Unfortunately, Foxborough is like not close to either of those cities. It's a really hard place to get in and out of. So unless you really, really are looking for an excuse to visit Boston or Providence, that might be one you want to avoid as a Browns fan. But all these other, I mean, Baltimore in September, that's a win. That's if you want to go to a division game, go to Baltimore. There's a lot of places to go eat on the water in Baltimore when it's warm out. Obviously, Detroit's a super convenient trip if you just want to make a day trip. But yeah, I mean, you know, the Jets game, hey, they play in New Jersey, but it's right across the river from New York City. You can get right over there. There's a train. It's really easy to do. This is a good travel schedule for Browns fans. Even if London is out of the budget, even if Vegas is out of the budget, there are there's some good kind of places to go, even though it's not like the glitzy, spectacular places outside of Vegas. But some of these cities are really good, kind of underrated cities to go. But I would warn you, Foxborough, if you're just going for the experience of Foxborough and that stadium and that history, that recent history, sure. But it's a tough place to get in and out of for sure on a game day.
Yeah, it really is. But yeah, if now, hopefully for Browns fans, the football team will give you many, many reasons to want to get in the car and go to one of these road trips or get on a plane and go to one of these road trips because there are some really good ones. And it would be a lot of fun if the team is good. If the team's not good, I always feel so bad when the fans show up in full force and orange and brown everywhere. And Browns fans travel so well. They really travel so well. But they deserve a good football team. So hopefully they'll get the quarterback thing figured out and they will stay in this thing and keep it interesting for as long as they possibly can.
Unfortunately, the Chicago trip, I wish it were. Yeah, I guess we can't have everything, but I wish the Chicago trip were a little bit earlier in the year. But
Yeah.
that's okay. Maybe we'll get some unseasonably warm weather for that one. Because I remember the last time we were in Chicago was at that Christmas Eve game when it snowed and we were all scrambling to get out of there in time. It's like I said, it's been a little while since we've been there, so
Yeah.
that would be nice to have a little better weather in Chicago when we get there. But I will also say this, and I put this in one of our group texts. The Midwestern dad in me is looking at this schedule, and I see a whole lot of driving trips here. If you want to get behind the wheel and take a little 6-hour, 4-hour drive to a few of these places, this is also a very drivable schedule if you're someone who doesn't mind driving and has been wanting to get to a Browns game. There's some games you can get in the car and you can get to pretty quickly if you've wanted to go to the road. Detroit, by the way, is also kind of an underrated like experience in the stadium, and I really am interested to be there with that team being good. But because that place can get loud, that place can get really loud.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Dan, when I look over this schedule and you look at the road trips, there really aren't any warm weather cities per se, right? So the only warm
You're
weather
right.
city that we could have gotten later would
It's
have been Las Vegas, right? Everything else is
You're
going to
right.
be pretty much a cold weather
I
city.
mean,
So, right? Yeah.
yeah, it didn't work out for us as far like obviously San Francisco's a home game. Miami's a
Miami's a
home
home game.
game.
Yeah.
So
So we were going
yeah,
to have to go somewhere cold in December. There was just going to be no way around it, unless, of course, Vegas would have been like December 14th, and then Chicago Thanksgiving weekend or November 23rd. Those two, from a weather standpoint, would have been a little easier for everyone involved. But that's okay. Like you said, maybe we'll get some unseasonably warm weather in Chicago in December. And if not, it will look absolutely beautiful at Christmas time there. And it'll still be a great, great weekend.
well, hopefully our guys from Buffalo will have some good weather coming here because we've obviously had some dicey late season trips to and from Buffalo. So hopefully those guys, when Buffalo comes to Cleveland on December 21st, won't have to skid around I-90 on their way here. They'll have some nice weather to drive in because, like I said, we've had some adventures going back and forth from Buffalo in snowy weather. I think there was a trip where we almost ran out of gas. It was
Oh, yeah.
that's a tough one. So I'm glad that
It,
one is in Cleveland,
it,
and we don't have to deal with that this year. That's
it is a
that's a
tough one.
win.
And then from a holiday standpoint, okay, we always look at the holidays and we try to figure out, am I going to be home for Christmas? Will I be home on Christmas Eve? And the last few years have been a little bit challenging that way from a Christmas standpoint. But I think we have it really good this year for Christmas because during Christmas week, the Browns are going to be home back to back weeks against the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So starting December 21st, it's the Bills, and then December 28th, it's the Steelers. So we can get our last minute Christmas shopping done. Dan, you can go out on Christmas Eve, on male Christmas shopping day,
It's been a
and get your
while.
and get your Christmas shopping
Yeah,
done. And so we will be home for the holidays, and that is always a good thing from
home
a
for Thanksgiving too,
Yes,
which has
it's
not
good.
happened recently.
No, so that's all good.
All right,
Uh,
there we go.
yeah, we're excited about that, and about a lot of other things with this schedule.
Listen, it's all about us. If you haven't figured it out, it's all about us and our level of convenience as we go through this schedule. Okay, that'll do it for this edition of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. Brown's schedule is out. Full coverage of it is at cleveland.com/Browns. That's also where you can become a Football Insider subscriber. Click that blue banner at the top of the page to get texts, the newsletter, all of that. Find us on Instagram, Orange and Brown Talk, on Twitter, Orange Brown Talk, and of course our YouTube is Cleveland Browns on cleveland.com. Schedule's out. We know where we're going. We know when. Booked some hotels. Got to get started on some flights, I guess. Although, like I said, I think a few of these might be some drivers. Mary Kay, I'll talk to you later.
Sounds great.